after the release of the fourth Indiana Jones movie, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, in 2008. Many fans had been left disillusioned and hoped that a fifth film would steer things in a more satisfying direction. Director Steven Spielberg and star Harrison Ford discussed their interest in making a fifth film within a few years.
If George is able to come up with something that Steven and I can agree on, I'd love to do it again. But the last one took us 18 years to come to agreement. I wouldn't hold your breath, but I'd love it. It'd be great.
Ford later revealed that George Lucas had a crazy but great idea, but as it were, several years would pass without any developments, and in 2012, George Lucas sold his company Lucasfilm, owners of the Star Wars and Indiana Jones properties, to Disney. The franchise would continue to lay dormant for several years, until in March of 2016, Disney officially announced Indiana Jones 5, which was slated for a 2019 release with Ford to star and Spielberg to direct. David Koepp initially worked on the script, and later Jonathan Kasdan, whose script included a Nazi gold train. But due to script issues and Spielberg's other commitments, the film was pushed back to 2021, with filming to take place in 2020. But those plans were derailed by the coronavirus pandemic, which brought the whole world to a standstill. Spielberg then stepped down as director of the film, passing the chair off to James Mangold, who had directed Logan and Ford vs. Ferrari. The new script was put together by Mangold and his Ford vs. Ferrari collaborators, Jez and John Henry Butterworth. To the relief of fans, the story came from these three writers and not from corporate edict. And from the ashes of the pandemic, Disney set sight on a production schedule to begin in 2021 with a release date of summer 2022. In the spring of 21, it was revealed that Ford was headed to Scotland for the production of the film. Harrison Ford was excited to return to the character that was so beloved by fans.
I'm always delighted to come back to these characters. We have the opportunity to make another because people have enjoyed them, and I'm responsible to them for the quality of the service that I offer.
By this time, the casting process was well underway, and by May 2nd, major characters had been cast for the film. Phoebe Waller-Bridge as Indy's assistant Helena, and Mads Mikkelsen as the villain, an ex-Nazi scientist working for NASA. Other illustrious names were soon to follow. Thomas Kretschmann as a presumably Nazi character, Shawnette Renee Wilson as an Afro-sporting CIA handler, Boyd Holbrook and Oliver Richters as her agents Clobber and Hawk, Toby Jones as a colleague of Dr. Jones, an unknown young French-Moroccan actor for a major role in the film, and Antonio Banderas was also later added to the cast as an old friend of Indy's who ran a small deep-sea diving boat. And at the end of May, set designers began making preparations at Bamburgh Castle in the UK, including the construction of a fake bombed-out tower. Soon the castle was populated with World War II-era set dressing such as concertina wire, sandbags, and swastika-adorned crates and banners. On the 5th of June, filming for Indiana Jones 5 officially began at the castle with smoke, fire, and explosions. Meanwhile, the North Yorkshire Moors Railway was being prepared for one of the film's biggest action set pieces, an incredible World War II-era chase centering around a terrifying Nazi train carrying relics and defended by huge mounted guns. Filming took place at night away from prying eyes as stuntmen wearing masks resembling young Harrison Ford pursued the train on motorcycle. A plethora of menacing vehicles used for the chase included cars, trucks, and this jaw-dropping tank. And on July 7th, Harrison Ford was seen in costume as Indiana Jones for the first time. Fans around the world reacted to the pictures with overwhelming excitement.
I was on a walk, and then my phone just started buzzing, and it was Morgan and I's friend group, who's a bunch of Indiana Jones cosplayers. And we were just going, okay, who made the hat? The hat looks familiar, the hat must be a holdover of Christopher Stoll, but look at the jacket, it's clearly a Raiders copy.
Down to his coffee cup that he was walking on set with. Yeah, we're trying to replicas of that coffee cup.
Later that week, Harrison Ford and Toby Jones filmed scenes in Melrose under the stunning Letterfoot Viaduct. Photographers took position on a hill overlooking the shoot, where Ford and Jones examined one of the film's major artifacts. Ford wore motion tracking dots on his face for facial mapping to be used in post-production work. Deepfake artist Shamook would later be hired by Lucasfilm to assist with de-aging effects. Filming would continue throughout June in locations all across the UK, including the Scottish borders, Loch Lomond, Inverary Castle, and in and around a home in Oxford where 1940s era cars lined the road, and Ford wore this outfit of a blue shirt with a tan jacket. In the scene, Indy visits a professor's house and forces his way into a room while a young girl watches. Ford's co-stars were in awe of his vitality and commitment to the film.
Well, working with Harrison was miraculous. He's a 78-year-old man who feels like at least 20 years younger than that.
I was actually so shocked at how he was so fit, in such good shape. I mean, better shape than I'm in, and I exercise and gym a lot. I mean, that guy is, incredible. I mean, I heard that he cycles for a couple of hours before like a 6 a.m. shoot start, and at his age, that guy's been keeping fit and healthy for a long time.
But amidst all the excitement, the production was about to be hit by a major obstacle as it was gearing up for a massive shoot in Glasgow. While rehearsing for a fight scene, Harrison Ford injured his right shoulder. Ford was to be out for 3 months, leaving the filmmakers with a dilemma, as certain arrangements such as securing filming locations in Glasgow had already been arranged. In the end, it was decided to go ahead with the Glasgow shoot without Ford, and as with Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, the use of stand-ins was to be heavily implemented. A huge section of the city of Glasgow was transformed into 1969 New York. Dozens of storefronts and signs had to be overhauled, and countless numbers of flags, buntings, fire hydrants, and period vehicles were brought in a setup that took weeks to complete. The scope of the transformation, just massive. Finally, on July 14th, filming commenced with hundreds of extras being brought in. Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Boyd Holbrook, Oliver Richters, Shawnette Renee Wilson, and Harrison Ford's stand-in all participated in the shoot, which would last roughly 2 weeks. Onlookers observed the production with fascination as a chase scene was filmed, showing Indy on a horse, pursued by men on motorcycles and a hijacked parade car, all weaving through a parade celebrating the Apollo 11 astronauts. Ford's stand-in filmed the fight scene where Indy fights back against Hawk and the others using a Vietnam protest sign. Richter's proving to be a menacing and fitting successor to Pat Roach. But yet another injury was to take place during a scene where Richter's bulldozes his way through a group of sailors, the 7'2" Dutch bodybuilder taking a tumble, which required medical intervention, and Richter's would be seen on crutches later during the production. There was also one minor incident of trouble from the locals, as a 17-year-old was arrested after storming the set. But filming had otherwise been a success, and the legion of extras left the set for the final time, having had the experience of a lifetime. Additional filming in July took place in locations near London at Crocker's Folly and Luton Hoo, but soon the production would drift into a long silence as it waited for its star to recover, fans clinging to the rumors of distant shoots to come in Sicily and Morocco. And then finally, after some 2.5 months since his injury, Harrison Ford returned to the production, London's Hatton Garden serving as the location for additional New York scenes to take place following the Apollo Parade. The floodgates were opened, and soon Indy 5 made its way to Sicily, where it would shoot all over the island throughout the month of October. The second unit kicked things off at the lagoon at Stagnone, where they took footage of a yacht which would be submerged in the film using digital effects. Meanwhile, the principal crew began work in Syracuse, where Harrison Ford and Phoebe Waller-Bridge were seen together for the first time at the Year of Dionysus at the Neapolis Archaeological Park. The city's Castello Medici also hosted filming with ballistas and ancient-era set dressings set up inside the castle, and additional filming outside the castle. Soon, the production descended on the breathtaking setting of Cefalù, where Ford was welcomed by a legion of adoring fans. And in one of the production's most heartwarming and unforgettable moments, Harrison Ford came out for a photo shoot with Indiana Jones cosplayers, among them Marco Vendramini.
We were lucky, and around 3:30 p.m. when he finished to act, he came back from the same way. He washed us, he made the golf car stop, and his assistant came to me and he said, "Give me your phone." So I gave my phone to the assistant. Mr. Ford came to us, and we were able to do this picture. This picture were made by the assistant of Mr. Ford with my phone, and it was so great time. I was so excited, and it was really great because really he is my hero. He's my favorite actor. Indiana Jones is the hero, the most important hero for me since I was a kid, and I had the opportunity to meet in one time Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones. And he was very kind with us, very friendly, he was smiling.
Observers have pointed to the big smile on Ford's face. He's clearly having a hell of a time, both making this film and interacting with the public. Many of the film's other stars were on location as well, including the young French-Moroccan actor and Mads Mikkelsen, who were seen publicly in character for the first time. Just as Temple of Doom utilized the unused minecart chase concept from Raiders of the Lost Ark, a wedding car chase conceived in an early script for Indiana Jones 4 was filmed here in Cefalù for the latest installment. The abandoned fishery of Tunara del Secco served as the production's next location. Scenes filmed here featured a hodgepodge of props and costumes representing different periods throughout history. Ford and Waller-Bridge filmed scenes where they recovered from the parachute drop, and a downed World War II bomber appeared in one section of the grounds, while elsewhere, actors dressed in ancient Greek and Roman outfits reenacted the Battle of Syracuse from circa 212 BC. And it was at this time that Disney dropped the bombshell, and fans were disappointed to hear that the film had yet again been delayed, now to release on June 30th, 2023, making it a whole 15 years since the release of the previous movie. The injury to Ford, a likely culprit in the delay. Meanwhile, the crew moved across the island to the province of Trapani, where Ford and Waller-Bridge filmed scenes at the Doric Temple of Segesta, situated atop the area's stunning rolling hills. For the crew's final days in Sicily, they shot at Marsala and at Castellamare del Golfo. Antonio Banderas got his chance to shine as the charming and lovable captain, an old friend of Indy's. Scenes of the characters preparing for deep-sea diving were to be Harrison Ford's last public shoot in character. But there was still a long way to go, and the second unit still had one mammoth of a scene to produce across the waters in Morocco, the incredible tuk-tuk chase, which utilized stuntmen and stand-ins for the actors. The busy streets of Fez served as the location of some of the film's most daring stunts, with stuntmen and women hanging from the back of vehicles, racing at high speeds and making sharp movements. The footage taken was breathtaking, but things didn't always go to plan, as one extra was struck by a vehicle. Thankfully he was okay, but tragedy did strike the film that week, as 54-year-old camera operator Nick Kupak was found dead in his hotel room in Morocco, his death coming of natural causes. In spite of the heartbreaking loss, the second unit was able to complete the scene and wrap their work on Indiana Jones 5 with a massive group photo. By now, the principal cast and crew had returned to Pinewood Studios in London to continue filming behind closed doors at the legendary Albert R. Broccoli 007 stage. The film had already been filming at Pinewood on and off for months, and as with any production in these times, strict precautions had to be maintained against the spread of coronavirus. The film had suffered a scare in September when several members of the crew became sick, and a total of 50 people had to be sent home. As it turned out, it was a neurovirus outbreak and not related to COVID. In another incident, Ford rushed to the aid of a crew member who collapsed from a suspected heart attack. Filming in Pinewood would run for many months as the crew filmed in sets resembling a train station, cavernous tunnels lined with booby traps, and a massive underground dome rigged to collapse on itself. Actor Mads Mikkelsen praised James Mangold as director, describing the production as having the feel of a Spielberg film with the added vision of Mangold.
Every day of shooting felt like a real Indiana Jones film. It felt like going back to the scratch. Everything looked like it. Harrison was there wearing his clothes. It was just, it was a brilliant experience.
Finally, on February 27th, 2022, producer Frank Marshall broke the news that Indiana Jones 5 had wrapped. The announcement coming in this Twitter post nearly 9 months on from the start of production. And Harrison Ford himself put on the wrap party at the bike shed in East London with hundreds of crew members in attendance. For director James Mangold, though, now began the arduous task of putting the film together in the editing room. He begged eager fans to be patient, suggesting that no footage will be seen until the end of the year. But a select few who were close to the production did get a sneak peek here or there, among them Boyd Holbrook.
I got to see about 30 minutes of the film, and I know people are going to be satisfied with it. Jim just can't make a bad movie. It's incredible. He's incredible, and it's fast, and it's badass.
One man who has been at the heart of Indiana Jones since the beginning is the maestro John Williams. Arguably the greatest film composer of all time, Williams was delighted to return to Indiana Jones. He offered high praise for the film and for its stars, Harrison Ford and Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
It really looks fabulous. And Harrison Ford is doing everything so wonderfully well. And we have a character in the film, which you're going to love this woman, is Phoebe Waller-Bridge. As many of you know, was a fantastic actress, and her comedy scenes are wonderful, and the action scenes, she's brilliant. She and Harrison, something you will treasure to see the two of them together.
For Waller-Bridge's character of Helena, Williams took influences from old Hollywood as he crafted a beautiful and mesmerizing piece, which he premiered to a packed house at the Hollywood Bowl. Another important figure involved in post-production work, Disney trailer editor Andrew Hageli, who was ecstatic to work on trailers for his favorite movie franchise.
No joke, I'm working on something now that is the reason I joined this company, and been working on it, and it's been the greatest privilege.
What's the dog's name?
Indy.
Oh.
Indy.
You named the dog Indy.
Yeah. Named after my favorite movie character. Yeah.
I think we just put together a mystery, kids.
No, you didn't.
On September 10th of 2022, Lucasfilm will feature in a panel at Disney's annual D23 Expo in Anaheim. Anticipation for Indiana Jones 5 is boiling over to a fever pitch as many fans believe that the film's title and teaser trailer will at last be revealed. Indiana Jones is one of the most beloved series of films of all time, and now over 40 years on from Raiders of the Lost Ark, the franchise and its iconic snake-fearing archaeologist remain as popular as ever. The production of this newest installment captured the fascination of fans across the globe, and if Harrison Ford's comments about the film are any indication, Indiana Jones 5 will be one of 2023's biggest films and the long-awaited return of great adventure.
We have almost completed the next Indiana Jones film, and I had a wonderful experience working with James Mangold, with Kathy and Frank again. And I am really proud of the movie that we made.